First of all, welcome back. Thanks to everybody for being here today. It's hard to believe we're getting ready to embark on year two. It seems like year one was just starting, and it was a whirlwind, but one that we truly grew and got better at. And so just want to thank each and everyone for being here today, for the coverage that you all give us. When we took this job 18 months ago, that was one of the reasons why I took it, was because of the support that we have in this community, the support for women's basketball, and so we just appreciate all that you all do. I know that there's a lot of more important things right now in our world than basketball, and so we want to make sure we take a moment to recognize the people that are hurting right now from the hurricanes in Texas and Florida and Puerto Rico, and also the tragedy in Las Vegas, and then the fires that are going on in California right now. We send our thoughts and our prayers to all those who have been affected, and we also don't take for granted this platform that we have, the opportunity to do something that we love and that we enjoy at such a great university. And so just thankful to be here today and be able to get started. So we just wrapped up practice number 9, I believe, this morning. Practice number 9, and thank goodness we have 21 more to go before we tip it off on, I believe, November 10th against Tennessee Wesleyan. But pleased with where we've come in 18 months. The first year, our first year was all about building our culture and becoming who we want to be, how we want to handle things on and off the court, how we want to be as teammates, how we want to handle things in the classroom, in the weight room, on the track, and how we want to play. And I think we've laid a really good foundation. There's still a lot of work to be done, and you fight for that culture each and every day. That never ends. But I think we've made a lot of strides, a lot of growth as we go into year 2, and very excited about that. We have a lot of new faces, 9 new faces to be exact, 9 new faces who've not played Division I basketball yet, but are very, very talented, have really come in and adapted to our culture, embraced our culture. Their teammates, the 6 returnees, have really embraced them. And so I'm really pleased with where our chemistry is this early in the year, and how hard each and every player on our roster right now is working, and where we're at heading into our 10th practice tomorrow. So I'll open it up for questions at this point.
Tell me a little bit about what you wanted to take. Well, what did you learn about the program last year, and what you wanted to take from last year into this year? Changes that you saw for the first year, or following what we were doing the first year? Talk about the transition from the first year to the second.
Gosh, Scott, I think so much was done in the first year. When we got here last year, not only were we a new team, but a new staff. And so, that's one of the biggest things that I think is a great carryover from last year to this year, is now we have continuity within our staff. And I believe we have one of the best staffs in the country. In assistant coaches, Melanie Walls, Allie Clark, and our newest addition, Courtney Struthers. Allie and Mel were with us last year, and so there's a lot of continuity there with them. And then the great thing about the addition of Coach C is she played for Coach Walls at Alabama, and so she knows, has a very good sense of how we do things. A lot of things that Coach Walls did at Alabama we're doing here as well. And so our system, she understands our system and our expectations. And then also Aaron Sterniker, our Director of Operations, who makes everything go behind the scenes, is back with us. And it's his birthday today, so I want to give a shout out to Aaron on his birthday, but he does such a great job. So I think, first of all, just the continuity of our staff, knowing each other, working so well together, and being on the same page. It all starts at the top, and so we have to exemplify what we expect of our players. We have to set the standard first, and we have a staff that does that. And so I have a lot of faith and confidence. Those guys make me better each and every day. So just going into year 2 with those guys all back with us, and then with the new addition of Coach C has been really, really, really good. Also having 6 veterans, so to speak, coming back with us who understand the expectation, the standard in the locker room. the standard in the weight room, the standard in the classroom. I think accountability has been something that I've just seen us grow tremendously in. You know, before you can hold somebody else accountable, you have to hold yourself accountable. And so those 6 returning players, they know the expectations and they're leading the way. And then there's an accountability amongst our team right now that we didn't have last year, to no fault of anyone else's. They were learning as we were going. They didn't know what the standard was. They didn't know the expectation. They had to learn it every day because we were a new staff. And so I think being able just to have that consistency and that continuity has really, really helped us progress.
What did you take, maybe in your knowledge of the OVC? You had known about it before you got here, but now you got here against some veteran coaches in the conference. Did OVC live up to the type of competitiveness you thought?
Well, first of all, the OVC is a very good conference, no question. You know, Belmont was seconds away from beating Kentucky at Kentucky on their home floor in the first round of the NCAA tournament. I mean, Belmont was one of the top teams in the country last year, you know, as far as being able to compete, being able to put a lot of points on the board. They were an extremely good team, you know, but there's not only Belmont, you know, you've got some outstanding coaches in this league. You know, UT Martin, I think, is going to be a very good team this year. They were very young last year and took some bumps early but found their way late, and Kevin McMillan does an excellent job. Rick Petrie at Jacksonville State is one of the best defensive coaches in the country. I've competed against him for years in different leagues, and he does as good a job of anybody at teaching defense, and they're one of the toughest teams to score against. And so we've also added some coaches in our league. Matt Boland, who was the head coach at Illinois, was an addition at Eastern Illinois now, and I think he's going to do an outstanding job. Rochelle Turner at Murray State, I think, will be a great addition to our league. So it is a very competitive league. It's a very balanced league. Belmont, you know, with the exception of Lauren Thompson, who was a good player for them last year, but they return most all of their roster. You know, they've got their big 3 back again in Sally McCabe and Kylie Smith and Darby Maggard. And so it will be another year of a very competitive basketball. You know, until somebody knocks Belmont off, we're all chasing them. But I think we made strides in the sense of having more of the pieces now to be able to do that and to be able to compete at a much higher level this year.
Obviously, you wanted to win the OVC championship, go on to the NCAA tournament. To get back to the conference tournament after a couple of years, I think 2 or 3 years out of it. I mean, pretty pleased with the year, considering new coach, new kids. Were you pretty pleased with how last year went?
Well, it's going to sound like coach speak, and it probably is, but we talk all the time about process, you know, and I know that's such a buzzword in sports, but it's so true. It is a process, and it does not happen overnight, and it's going to take time to get back to where we want this program to be, which is on a national stage. I walk in here every day and see those banners, those championship banners hanging, and it motivates and inspires not only me but our staff and our players. And so it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight, but I thought we made great strides last year. And, you know, going into last year, if you had told me, hey, being picked 11th, you'll finish in the top 6 of the league and be able to get back to the tournament, you know, I would have said that would be a successful year. And so while our record was not where we wanted it to be, and we always want more, and we always strive for more, I think that was a great launch for our program to where we're trying to get back to.
Now, as you head into this year, Coach went out and got 9 signees, 9. Looks like you got a little bit of everything, some posts, some guards, you know, some bit more along the front line. What were you looking for when you went out recruiting, and what was the overall thought about it? Could this be one of the better classes Tech's ever had? Or?
Well, you know, obviously there's been some great players to come through this program, and you know, I know that we've had so many outstanding players, not just at Tech, but also within the OVC, you know, that have been some of the best players in the OVC. So I wouldn't get into comparing as far as it being the best class ever. I think it's an outstanding class for our staff. to start off for the first signing class that we had, especially getting in here in April. These kids now are starting to be recruited as freshmen, some as even eighth graders. And so for us to get a late jump and be able to bring in 9 players, and not just 9 players, we didn't just bring in quantity, we brought in quality. And recruiting is very much like it's a puzzle, and you have to find the right pieces that fit in that puzzle. And I think we did that. One of the areas that we had to get much better in was shooting. We needed to be able to shoot the ball from the perimeter much better. I thought we were able to fill those needs. We've brought in a lot of kids that can shoot the basketball. Also, post play, we needed to get bigger. We needed to have more depth in the paint. We needed to have more of a presence in the paint. And I think we have the pieces there to have that in the future. We brought in rebounders. We brought in defenders. So I think we have a really nice mix of pieces to the puzzle. Now, again, I go back to what I said in the opening statement. Those 9 faces have never played a Division I basketball game. So I want to be fair to them. While I think they're all extremely talented, they haven't played at this level yet. And so it's going to be, a transition period for them. What we look like right now is not what we're going to look like a month from now. What we look like in November is going to look very different in January. And so I think I have to keep reminding myself each and every day that I have to be patient and I have to buy into the process as well, because it will be a process for them. But I really like the balance that I think we can have on the offensive end. Last year we were a team that had to really rely on our defense. To put points on the boards put points on the board. And if we weren't able to hold teams in the 50s, we struggled to win because we just weren't a very explosive offensive basketball team. We weren't a very balanced offensive basketball team. So I think we can be much more balanced this year. I also think we can be much deeper this year. We only had 10 healthy bodies on the roster, and really 9.5 at times, because Anacia Wilkinson all year battled injury all year with her, and I thought she was a young lady that really, if we could have kept her healthy last year, really could have made an impact for our team. So I think we've got an opportunity. Now, whether we'll go this deep, I don't know. That's yet to be determined, but I think we've got an opportunity to go 9 to 10 deep this year. We've got 15 on the roster. And, anytime you can get 9 to 10 that can come in and contribute and you don't lose anything, when you start subbing in and out, I think you've got a chance to be pretty balanced and have really good depth at every position. So I like the balance and the depth that I think we've got an opportunity to have.
With that big group coming in, how much, and I know starters won't be decided for a while, but how much of an impact can those 9 play?
Well, I'm expecting them to have a big impact. Now that will be determined. We're only 9 practices in, and so that will be determined much more as we go along in the coming weeks. But, they're getting a lot thrown at them right now. They're learning an entirely new offensive system. Some are learning an entirely new defensive system. And so their heads are spinning a little bit right now, so to speak. So just depending on how much they can grasp, and not only how much they can grasp, but then you got to be able to transfer it over into a game, when the lights come on. And the biggest thing that I think freshmen and newcomers, junior college players, have to adapt to is the speed of the game and the physicality of the game, because it's a lot different at the Division I level. And so, how will they be able to adjust, not only in practice, but also when the lights come on and you're going full speed, up and down for a 40-minute game. So I think a lot of that is yet to be determined, but I really like what I've seen thus far.
I want to ask you about your schedule. You beefed it up like crazy. Brought in some really, really good teams on your schedule. Just coming out of last year, purposefully wanting to beef up the schedule, and talk about how difficult it could be for you.
Well, when we got here, schedules are usually set 2 years out. And so when we got here the last year, and really a lot of the schedule this year was already determined, because you schedule home and aways. And so, obviously, we've added a few games on the road with a couple different SEC teams in Georgia and Alabama. But you open up on November 10th with Tennessee Wesleyan, and then you look at your first 7-8 games are very, very competitive and very, very challenging. You go to MTSU, who, year in and year out are competing for championships. We've got ETSU on the road. We've got Radford at home, who won 24, 25 games and got to their conference championship and lost in their conference championship, but went to the WNIT. They've got everybody back. We're at Wright State, who, again, won 25 games last year, have most everybody back. They were in the WNIT. We've got them on the road. So it's a very, very competitive schedule that we have. But, when the games that we were able to add, we want to challenge our players. We want to put them in environments on the road as well as at home, against quality teams, so that when we get to December, and we'll open up an OVC play this year in December rather than January. When we get to December in that first OVC game, we're prepared and we're ready to go. So, our young players will get thrown to the fire very early, but I believe that they're ready for the challenge and that they'll embrace it and that it will prepare us for what we're going to face in OVC play.
I was going to ask you, could the tough early schedule, heaven forbid that you don't win them all, but could that be a precursor to getting you ready for the OVC? Like you mentioned, you're tough, you're challenged, you're game tested, but then you get to OVC, all that competition may not frighten everybody.
Yeah, no question. And I thought last year's schedule did just that for us. We took it on the nose a lot early. We weren't where we wanted to be by Christmas, especially record-wise. But I thought each and every game we just kept talking about the process. We just kept talking about, failing is growth. We kept failing over and over early on, but we also kept growing. We kept growing, and we never quit. Our kids kept coming in each and every day, just, hey, how can we learn? How can we grow? How can we get better? And then by the time that we opened up with Southeast Missouri on the road, that was one of our best games of the year. And so our schedule last year most definitely prepared us for OVC play, and I expect our schedule to do that again this year.
What will be keys for you as you head into this year's season? Like between now and the opener, hey, I got to get A done and B done. Are there things you're focusing on as you get ready for the season?
Well, I think just number one, we want to be able to push the ball and play up tempo and play in transition. You saw that a little bit last year, but because of our numbers, you really didn't get to see it as much as what we would like. Akia Harris at point guard, she had to play 38, 39 minutes a game for us last year. So we weren't able to take her off the floor much and give her a blow because she had to play so many minutes. So we ended up not being able to play as fast as we would like just because we just didn't have the numbers to do that. So I think this year we've got the numbers to play the up-tempo style that we want to play. So being able, number one, to understand how we want to push the basketball, how we want to get out and run in transition, and then how we want to convert in transition. And then starting to understand, our offense is complex. It is a read and react offense. And so we talked about this last year. It takes time to be able to understand and make the reads. It's one thing to know the offense and learn it and understand it inside and out, but then you got to take that next step and be able to understand the reads within the offense. There's a counter for everything. So being able to understand, when your opponent takes one thing away, okay, we're looking for this. And so that's going to take a little while. That's going to take game experience to understand. And so we have to be patient with that. But again, I think, even though last year we lost, we have our returning scorer back, first team all-conference player in Octavia Hickson. We also lost our second and third leading scorer in Trey Brooks and Hannah Goolsby. So, it's going to take some time to define roles, to understand what those roles are and to embrace our roles. But with the positive attitude our kids have had, the commitment that they've had each and every day, to the process and also to each other. I'm really excited about how all the pieces can fit together.
I guess the last thing I heard you speak to Lions Club one time, and you were talking about how the energy you're feeling. You're 3 weeks out. Are you, do coaches get excited too about the first game?
We're extremely excited. Now I'm also very thankful that we still have 21 more practices, because, you start looking and you go, goodness, there's so much to be done and so much work to get in before we get to that first game. But you also kind of just have to roll with it a little bit. But I'll tell you what, I love this team. I take away them as players. I love them as human beings. I love the 15 personalities and who they are as people in that locker room. We talk about being all the time servant leaders, and I think our kids are really embracing that, and that starts with our seniors. I can't say enough about our senior leadership in Octavia Hickson and Asia Harper. It starts with those two young women. Octavia, and we call her Shug. Shug she's first team all conference, and that kid this morning arrives before everybody else and is helping our managers take stuff to the floor. That's who we want to be as people, as a servant leader, helping others on and off the court, and that transfers onto the court. We talk all the time about, if you want to be successful, help somebody else be successful. Set a great screen for somebody, get somebody else open in turn. That's going to get you open. Look to set somebody up with a pass or an assist. Look to take a charge, step over and help side and take a charge. And and that's also life lessons. The happiest people are the ones who serve others and do things for other people. And I think our seniors, are setting the tone for that. Shug is our emotional leader. She is one of the most competitive kids that I've ever coached. And she loves the game, and she's also one of our hardest workers, if not the hardest worker. She never takes a play off. And then you've got Asia Harper, who is such a great compliment to Shug. Asia is like our brains. Asia's probably, if not the smartest basketball player on our team. I know she's one of two smartest, and she just understands the game. She thinks a play ahead. And she's more of the quiet leader, but when she speaks, everybody tends to listen. And so those two are doing such a great job of setting the tone for our younger players. Because really, when you think about it, even though we have 6 returnees coming back, we've really only got 3 players returning that played significant minutes last year in Akia, Shug, and Asia. And so I think those 2 seniors are doing a really great job for us right now.
Along the tone of your last question, it seems like over the course of the year, last season, the players started to come together more as a family. Do you feel like that's part of the process itself?
No question. Chemistry, that's kind of the, I guess the tipping point, so to speak, that can really push you over the edge. And, we do talk all the time about being a family, about serving each other and being our sister's keeper. And so I think they've really embraced that. That's not to say that, anytime, whether you're a family or whether you're a team or whatever, there's always going to be conflict, and it's not always going to be 75 and sunny. And that's also life lessons, learning how to manage conflict and deal with conflict. And I just love how our young women are growing as people and starting to understand, how to make each other successful.
One of the things I've noticed on this year's team is that it seems to be a little bit taller. I know we lost some tall players last season, but as the team as a whole seems to be a little taller this season.
Yeah, no question. Mackenzie Coleman obviously brings great height and length. She's a freshman from Kentucky, 6'4", and is just extremely skilled player, extremely smart, and has that size that we really needed, especially with losing Trayvonna Brooks, who was 6'2", and our second leading scorer last year. And then you've also got newcomer Lacey Cantrell, who, from a physical standpoint, is just extremely physical, plays extremely hard. 6'1.5". I might give her 6'2" with shoes on, but just brings us a physical presence in the paint that we were really lacking and really needed.
And of course, having one of the most explosive duos with Shug and Akia, that's also got to be a big bonus coming into the season.
No question, and what I love right now about where Shug is at. Shug took a lot of shots for us last year because she had to. We needed Shug to score, 15 to 20 a game for us to have an opportunity to win. And I think this year that's where that balance is going to come in, and I think she's embracing that. And that's not to say, that she's not going to put up great numbers this year, but I think where we're a little bit ahead this year is that I don't see Shug having to take as many shots and have as much pressure on her to score as many points for us to win. I think we're going to be able to have a much more balanced attack, and Akia Harris, who was a kid that played a ton of minutes for us at the point guard position and just did such a great job of running our team for us last year. She's got such a great understanding of what we want, of what we're looking for offensively and defensively, and so I just keep pushing her every day. One of the areas that we're wanting her to grow is being more vocal, and I think she's starting to get we talk to her all the time about get comfortable being uncomfortable, and I think she's starting to do that as well.
And of course, not to jump too far ahead into the season, but a lot has been talked about during the offseason about moving the OVC tournament this season to Evansville, Indiana. What are your thoughts on the change of venue?
We're excited about it. I think from everything that I've gotten back through social media, through the build-up for media days there in Evansville in late October, it looks like the community is embracing it. It looks like they're excited about having the OVC tournament there, and that's what we need. We need to get the community behind it. We've got a lot of things going as far as community service events that we're going to do around our media days, and so I think it's going to be a good move, and we're looking forward to it. And from what I hear, the venue is outstanding, and they love basketball in that area, so I think it's going to be a great environment for our student athletes, and that's the biggest thing. You want your student athletes to be in a big time environment, and the community to embrace it and get behind it. So we're looking forward to that.
Just want to talk a little bit. We've noticed you're wearing one right now, and in practice, the green wristbands that the girls are wearing. Just kind of want to elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great question. We have these that we wear each and every day when we're not on the court, and then we also wear a green wristband each day in practice. Our players do, and so. On one end it says green light, and on the other side it says #Competier. And Competier is our word for this season. Competier means to strive together. And that we talked last year being all about culture and building that foundation for that culture. This year is all about competing. And it starts in practice. The thing I love about our practices right now is just how competitive they are. We didn't have that last year, and it wasn't because we didn't have good players. We did. It was because we didn't have enough players to even practice at times. And so just having the competition at each and every spot, that only makes players better. Competition breeds excellence. And so, I just love the competition that we have right now. And so this year is a big year as far as learning how to compete in practice, learning how to compete in games, learning how to win each and every day. You got to learn how to win, first off the court. You got to learn how to win daily before you can get to a 40-minute game, a 40-minute competition, and learn. If that's the first time you've had to embrace competition, then it makes it a whole lot tougher for you. And so we're having to learn each and every day because of the competition that we have in every spot of how to embrace competition. The second thing is it says green light. We had a speaker come in at the beginning of the year that was just more of a mental coach and talked about red light thinking versus green light thinking. The red light thinking is the negative thoughts, and that's what we default to a lot, when things don't go our way. And really, it's about your response. It's not about mistakes, because you're going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, but it's about your response, how you respond to those mistakes. And so how quickly can you go from that, when you make a mistake, go from catch yourself being in that red light thinking to go to green light thinking. And so it's been really cool how our players have embraced that. You can hear them when mistakes are made, or we have standards and goals each day in every drill. We make it competitive, and when we don't reach those standards or goals, you'll immediately hear somebody start to call out green light, and so we'll see. I hope that that will be something that we carry over into the game.
How can that, do you think, transfer over into a basketball game?
Well, I think just mentality-wise, I think, we want to be players that are able to bounce back from our mistakes and respond positively. Because in life, that's what it's all about, right? It's not about whether you get knocked down. It's about how you respond to it and how quickly you can pick yourself back up. We're never going to hold anybody scoreless in a basketball game. So how quickly when we do give up baskets, we want to make teams earn it. But now our thought has to be, okay, they scored. Now we want to get that ball out as quick as we can, and now we want to go back and score on them. Or if we turn the basketball over, sprinting back down on defense and getting a stop. Those are things that it relates to the game, and we have to be able to carry over.
Good idea.
You mentioned earlier about having to win off of the court first, and just we kind of noticed a little through social media. It seems like this year we picked up a little bit on growing the student athletes as women first before student athletes. You want to touch a little bit on the idea behind what we've seen the Womanhood Wednesday
Yeah.
and Tech Talk.
And that's a great question. Our culture, what we call our culture, is the SOAR culture, and it's number one about serving others. We've already talked about that, but you serve and you give others, and that's how you find your own success. Number two is about owning it. We want to be accountable for everything we do. We don't want to whine. We don't want to complain. We don't want to make excuses. We want to own everything we do in life, whether it's on the basketball court, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in the community. The next thing in SOAR is A, and that's acquiring knowledge. We want to be lifelong learners. We want to continue. That's how you grow each and every day, is to continue to learn, to continue to grow, not only as basketball players, but as people, as young women. And then the last is what we just talked about, Scott. The R is response. Respond positively. Life is going to throw you curves constantly, but how you respond to it is the most important. It's not what happens to you. We don't want to let our circumstances dictate our behavior, but it's how you respond to it. You can't control the circumstances, but what you can control is your behavior and the response to it. And so, we talk about our culture all the time, and so we try to do things that's not just basketball related, but that's life lessons for our young women and preparing them for so much greater than basketball. One of the things that we started to do is Womanhood Wednesday. So we take 30 minutes every Wednesday before practice, and we have a session. It's like a leadership session or a life skills session where we either watch a video or we read a chapter of a book, and we study leaders, or we study different life skills that will carry over to things way beyond the basketball court. Yes, they'll help us on the basketball court, but they'll also help us more in life. And it's something I think our players, really have really embraced and really appreciate and enjoy. We also have monthly tech talks, and that's usually on a Wednesday night where we bring in a speaker. And our first tech talk was with the First Lady, Carrie Oldham, who came in and taught us etiquette. When you go to a dinner, what forks to use and how you present yourself, how you walk into a room and how you own the room, and how you look somebody in the eye and you shake their hand and you introduce yourself, first impressions. We're also going to have one in a couple weeks that's about finances, understanding credit, understanding how you set yourself up now, how you can set yourself up or how you can hurt yourself at a very young age, understanding finances. And so just things that have nothing to do with basketball but have everything to do with growing our young women as people. And in our program, we always talk about the person being greater than the player. I think so often in sports, we've grown up doing this thing that we love, and so we start to find our identity and who we are as a player. And we don't ever want our players to that be where their identity is. We want it to be about them as people, more importantly.